Hi, and welcome to Seriously Pointless Conversations about Culture, your seriously pointless podcast about all your nerdy and geek things throughout time in the war-torn Marvel Cinematic Universe, guys. My name is David, and I am joined again by my co-host, James. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. What's up?
Not much. And we are joined by a special guest today from MyMovieFixPodcast, Sirr. How are you doing today, man?
Indeed, I'm doing just fine. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Again, it's My Movie Fix Pod, available wherever you find podcasts. Basically, I'm just a guy that loves talking about movies. So every other week, pretty much I have a guest on, and we just pick a movie and talk about it. Something I like, something we like, and we just go at it because I just need sometimes I see a movie and I just need to get that out of my system and need to talk about it. So that's what I do. So check me out, My Movie Fix Pod, wherever podcasts are found.
Yeah, check them out, guys. Great time. It was a really good one. So I actually got a chance to listen to your last podcast you did over Pig with the Nicolas Cage movie. I didn't know Ridley Scott actually directed that. That was kind of cool. And I was listening to that. I was just like, holy shit. I was like, he's actually, like he said, he's actually one of my favorite directors of all times. And it was just kind of fascinating. And I haven't even watched Pig yet, but it kind of made me think to myself, man, I really want to sit down and watch it. Have you seen this trailer for this, James?
I have not.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Michael Sarnowski directed Pig. That was
Michael Dick. Okay, yeah. So where did I get Ridley Scott from?
I think we're at the very beginning. We did like our movie fix takes or whatever. We're ranting with my guest that week. He said he thought Ridley Scott was overrated. So we talked about him for a bit, but he didn't actually...
so I got my wires crossed, and I was like, this doesn't look like a Ridley Scott movie at all. And I'm like, am I just losing my freaking mind? And so I got my wires crossed. I completely apologize about that.
But it made you enjoy it better. So it worked.
I was like, I'm waiting for something like a pig to pop out of someone's chest in this movie. I'm like, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. So, but yeah, actually, that was one of those great things that I love, because I miss some things sometimes, because you know how it is. Especially I was listening to it while I was trying to get my 4-month-old fall asleep the other day. And I must have just got my wires crossed in there. So, but I'm glad you corrected me on that. So.
I had to go look it up. I was like, wait a minute, did I miss that?
No, that's definitely me, my ADHD-ness. It's just going off into the space there. But that's awesome. Yeah. But if you guys haven't checked out his podcast, go check it out, guys. It was fun just to kind of listen to you guys, because you guys, like you said at the very beginning there, you guys had you and your guest, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but you guys had some pretty heavy diametrically opposed opinions on Ridley Scott. He was like, he's super overrated, and you're like, he's great. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? It's just like, and you guys kind of got into it a little bit. I love that. I love it whenever you can have a conversation with stuff like that, but you can still go away and kind of have a nice discourse over it. So, yeah, but yeah,
he hasn't made any legendary movies. It's like, yeah, except for this and that and that and this.
Yeah, you were just going down the list, like Gladiator, and I'm like, that's like one of my favorite movies of all time, dude. I love Russell Crowe in that movie.
He made Blade Runner. I mean, come on.
Yeah. He did, like I said,
Alien. It's just like, oh my god, don't even get me started. So yeah,
basically his argument was like, he's made 10 legendary movies, but what about the rest of them? They're only okay. I'm like, well, okay, yeah.
Well, let's look at his box office revenue. I'm gonna say it tends to disagree with you, sir. And don't get me wrong, like Raised by Wolves was a little weird, but it was still really good. It was still really just bizarre and good. So I love that kind of stuff. But so getting into kind of what we've been up to, I know, sir, you were telling me a little bit. You said you had a new baby and whatnot. So I don't know if you want to go first and tell us, what have you actually been doing? Maybe you've been sitting down and watching a lot of movies while you're nothing.
Yeah, these days I watch stuff for the podcast, and if something just piques my interest, I'll check it out. But other than that, it's baby. I do woodworking on the side, and I work. Yeah. That's it. I just free time is very limited, so I'm rewatching. Like I think that episode I was talking about it, like New Girl. That's my what I watch when I fall asleep. That's a lot of people have their go-to shows that they just leave on. So occasionally I watch a new movie. Something that just I got to go see this kind of thing. But other than that, I'm watching New Girl, I'm sleeping, and I'm working, and I'm holding my baby.
To be fair, there's worse people you could fall asleep watching. Zooey Deschanel's, she's a good looking gal. I'm gonna say let's just say that, and by the way, that show is hilariously funny. I got to, I think, season 2, and for whatever reason I don't remember why I fell off, but it's pretty freaking hilarious. Just the kind of like just ridiculous crap they get into on that show. It's fun. So, but yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm kind of in that same boat too. I kind of fall asleep watching Batman the animated series with my son. It's usually right before we go to bed we'll watch something. So I'm right in that same boat with you, man. It's just like whatever little time you have, it's usually just like in here 30 minutes here, 20 minutes there, nothing crazy. So but that's awesome. So
I told myself that I'd be able to watch all kind of movies since I'll be up in the middle of the night with my daughter, but it doesn't work like that. It's like I tried to watch The Green Knight, and it's like you're just not. You need to pay attention and focus.
Dude, you need to be aware for that movie, from what I've been told. Yeah,
it's not happening with a baby.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But yeah, I totally understand. My wife does that. She would be up in the middle of the night, like feeding the baby, and she's been watching the Marvel What Ifs, loving them, and she's just having a blast with them. Actually, she just watched the last one about Doctor Strange. Like if Doctor Strange went bad, and he basically kind of like has to. I want to ruin it for him, but he basically tries to go back in time and bend time to his will, and it's really good. If you guys know, it's kind of depressing, but it's really good. So I'll say that. So
no, I think you're talking about the trailer. We'll talk about that in a bit when he tries to bend time and change everything. No. Yeah, you see that in the trailer. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So I was making a joke.
That's why I was like, wait a minute, did I miss something? I was like, did I get my wires crossed again? That would have been totally on point for me, though. But yeah, that's awesome, man. So James, what have you been up to? I know you've had a couple days off this last week, right?
Yeah, I just got off a couple days ago, and so I finished up Spiritfarer that I was playing last week.
Yeah, it's kind of you and these little games. You've been really hopping in there. Especially
I like indie games; they're fun.
Yeah, so I remember you telling me about this last week. This is the one about the guy or the person that takes over the spot for Charon, the boat farer, basically the soul farer. How did you like? Did you finally finish it up? You said
I finished it up. It was good. It's really a game about saying goodbye and about loss. Like you're ferrying these spirits around the world. You're like solving all their unfinished business, helping them work out their issues with their parents or their ex-lovers or whoever it happens to be. And then at the end of it all, they get to say goodbye and like go to this death gate and die. And so the whole game is about like you getting to know these people and learning to like them and helping them, and then they just move on, and then you're still there. And then
much like Charon, Charon,
and the game finally ends when you yourself get to go through the gate and pass on too. So it's a charming little game. It's a lot of fun. It's honestly quite sad in a lot of places.
I mean, would you recommend it? How many souls out of 10 would you give it?
I give it a 7 out of 10. I mean, it's a fun game. It's a fun game. It's not like a AAA title. I mean, it's not going to change your worldview or anything, but it is a fun game. It's definitely worth picking up.
Awesome. Have you been watching
the Game Pass and it's cheap? So
yeah, that's why I said it's on Game Pass. So that's I saw it on Game Pass, and whenever you kind of recommended it, I was like, oh hell yeah, I'm gonna pick that up. So have you been watching anything? What's up?
I wanted to chime in there for a second. Have either one of you played the game Before Your Eyes?
No.
Before Your Eyes? No, I haven't. Which one's that?
What's that about?
It's on Steam. The premise is very similar kind of to what you were talking about, where, there's the guy ferrying the person through the other world or whatever. I don't want to give any details away. If you played it, you understand why I'm asking, but I think the very first episode I did, I talked about that, and game blew me away. I think it's only like a 2-hour game or something like that. Because I think one of the things we're talking about is how a lot of people finish it so quick. Steam would give you a refund because I think they give you a refund if you don't pay less than 2 hours.
Oh, is that the game that they were posting a bunch on news media or a while ago? Because I remember seeing people showing that, because that's what they actually were doing. Like you said, they would play it like in like 2 hours and they just get a refund for it for free, and they're like, well, what's the point? Yeah. So this is the game they were talking about.
Yeah, I believe so, because we were talking about it, Before Your Eyes. If you enjoyed that game you're talking about just now, I definitely recommend you try that. It costs I think it's $10. At the time, it was $9.99 on Steam.
Yeah, I'll check it out for sure.
When I tell you it hit me like a sack of bricks, that was very worth checking out. It's and I guess I don't want to say gimmick, but the way the game is played is it's played by you have to use your webcam, and time moves forward whenever you blink. You actually blink your eyes, and that's the mechanic. It's not necessarily moving your mouse or keyboard and all that kind of stuff. It tracks your eye movements, and when you blink, time skips forward, and that's kind of an aspect of the game, and it's about kind of how you only have so much control over your life, and time moves with the blink of an eye. But part of the story is kind of what you're talking about, how there's a person shepherding the person through the afterlife or whatever. But it hit me like a ton of bricks. I definitely recommend it. I didn't want to take, 2 minutes, too much time away from what you were talking about, but
no,
it kind
that
of goes
sounds really
with
cool,
the
man.
game you're playing. Definitely check it out.
That
If you
sounds
haven't
really
played
cool.
it, definitely recommend people.
And
play
it looks like it won a Game Developer's Choice at the Indiecade, and it got 4 awards at the Unfold Game Awards. I mean,
there you go.
Seems like it hit a bunch of people hard.
If you got the time, just try to do it all in one sitting. And like I said, it hit me like a sack of bricks. And
See,
I very rarely do video games because I only play. I only have so much time. I don't play video games all too often unless I just have the time to do it. But I heard good reviews. I sat down and played it, and definitely this is like I couldn't let this pass without recommending it, especially because the game you're talking about was so similar in premise to it. But
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that one out. That's great.
See, that sounds pretty cool. I was looking. I just found it. I found it. I threw it in the chat there. But this looks really cool. I would highly recommend folks to go check it out just on your own, because like I said, even though just the brief little trailer that I watched there while you were talking about it, it looked really cool. I'm probably gonna end up picking that up if it ends up maybe going a little bit less on price or whatnot. But yeah, that looks really cool. James, have you been up to anything else? You been watching anything at all?
Oh, playing Psychonauts 2 as well.
You finally
got started on that one. And as far as watching stuff, now I've been doing some of the summer fall anime stuff. We talked about that last week a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you did actually. I was kind of happy that you were. We were talking about it last night, James, a little bit. I know you kind of gave me some recommendations to watch with Jackie, so that'll be fun. And I actually was watching Zombieland Saga, like you were told me to, and I haven't gotten a chance to watch it today because we had to do a bunch of errands today and dealing with that with 2 kids and a little bit of a hangover thanks to you, James. That was fun, so thanks for that. So sleep deprivation plus hangover did not work out well this morning to try to do anything other than just quick errands, but yeah, I've actually been trying to finish up Psychonauts 2. Talking about that, James, I've just been plowing through that game. That is talking about feels, sir. It is there. How far are you into it, James? Can I?
The Aquato family just came to visit Raz, so
okay, so
I'm pretty early on in the game. I've only played it for a few hours.
So for background, I don't know if you've played Psychonauts at all, sir, but I know for you and for the audience, Psychonauts basically revolves around a kid that is a part of a family of acrobats, but he's also got psychic powers, but they are super against it. They don't really like that because they feel like it's a little bit evil and whatnot. But anyways, he basically runs away to join a psychic summer camp for people that want to become agents in this Psychonauts organization in this world. And it's kind of really interesting. Like the first game, it's a little more goofy and kind of fun. And the second one, it kind of follows up with that after the summer camp, and it kind of gets a little bit more deep. It definitely starts hitting a lot more things like mental illness, loss, tragedy, joy, kind of trying to figure out, human emotions and whatnot. And it gets pretty deep in some places. Like I'm to the point where there's this one, James, they're actually talking about alcoholism.
Oh wow!
I know, that's why I said I was just like, I'm like, and it's talks about how it's basically trying to you'll figure it out soon. You'll start to meet some of the original Psychonauts. I'm not ruining too much for you, but a lot of them are really effed up in the head, seriously screwed up. And one of them actually had to deal with a lot of alcoholism on his own, and with parents that he was really he loved his parents very much. On a couple of them died from that actually. So it's a pretty fun game. I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, that I would highly recommend anyone that has Game Pass, like I said, to go check it out. It is a blast. It's definitely like a 20-30 hour game if you want to really sink into it and get all the little collectibles and things like that, because it's definitely got some breadth and feel to it that I have not really wanted to get into a game like this for a while, and all of a sudden it just clicked. So
yeah, and it has the same kind of fun, charming characters that the original one did, which I'm a bit excited about. So far, so far, my favorite thing has been walking around and having all the characters start to speculate whether you're the spy or not, and they're like, "He's standing right there."
The best one I ran into is like you're walking by some of the people in the organization, and the lady's like, "Oh, hey, you remind me of my nephew." That little jerk. Just like, what? Like they do like little things like that throughout the game, and you're just like, so much time and effort and just care went into this game. It's just phenomenal. So, but yeah. So on top of that, like I was saying earlier, I've actually also been watching a lot of the Marvel what ifs. So I powered through them. I hadn't had a chance to watch any of them, and I powered through them last week. So I don't know. Have either of you guys watched any of those at all? Got a chance to watch any of those?
No, I haven't seen them yet. I was waiting until they're all out and people hear the reviews, and I go, burn through them. I like to binge them.
You're a binger. I like that. So I'm kind of, as I said, I'm of two minds that I like the kind of episodic releases they do, like that as Disney does, because it makes you want to kind of go back and rewatch as eventually watch them all together. But there is something to say like by sitting there for like an entire day and just wasting an entire day of watching a TV show, just sitting there with like your favorite drink and like maybe a tub of popcorn, your favorite snack, and just sitting there and absorbing everything. So yeah, I can feel that a little bit, but I won't ruin too much for you. But there are two ones that I really have enjoyed so far. And it's the Captain Marvel one where Sharon Carter becomes Captain Britain. Actually, that's really fun. And then the one where T'Challa becomes Star-Lord. Those are my two favorites so far. And those are the two more upbeat ones. The other two that they have right now, they're kind of dark. So especially this last one they just did was a little depressing. But it's definitely I get why they do it, because I'm a huge What If fan. I've collected most of their comics that are with What If, like a lot of the old series here. And they do that a lot. They always do like, what happened if so and so went bad, or blah blah blah, whatever it is. And they're definitely kind of dipping their toe into some of that stuff without like going completely bonkers. So
this is their chance to do whatever they want with the characters, right? Because it's not permanent. It's just for fun.
It's for funsies. Yeah, let's see what happens when Doctor Strange absorbs a demon, because that nothing wrong can go there, right? So it's gonna be fun, I think, and hopefully, like I said, I hope they don't do any weird, like just bizarre ones, like, because trust me, there's some really weird What If comic books that I have, and I'm just like, why would you even like green light this? It's just bizarre stuff, like what happened if Peter Parker just lived a normal life? You're just like, what? That doesn't sound like fun at all. Like who would want to talk about Peter Parker having a normal life? But that's the reason why he becomes Spider-Man. But anyways, but yeah, that's kind of what we've all been up to. Does anybody else have anything to add before we start jumping into the news today?
Nope.
Nothing, sir? All right. Well, let's kick it then on into the news. So the first big part of the news today is talking about the Gamescom 2020. So it's from Kevin Lee off of IGN. The big ones that they're pushing for, obviously, they've got a release date for Halo Infinite. So on December 8th. So it actually came with a few caveats. I know, James, we're not as big Halo fans as we used to be, but I might actually, since it's free on Game Pass, but the single player will be on there. I'm definitely going to try and grab that. I don't know if I'm going to play in the multiplayer or not.
I probably won't.
That's hurtful. You make me cry a little bit.
Well, Halo's hurtful.
No, you're just mad because you weren't good at it. Because
what?
You were basically
fine.
You were fine. You were a punching bag, is what you were. So, but also talking about other Marvel properties, they're coming out with a Marvel Midnight Suns from Firaxis Games, James. So you are familiar with these guys. Firaxis. These are the Civ 6 guys, Civ 5, 6, all those guys. They also do XCOM. So what they're doing is they're going to be making a XCOM style Marvel game. So they're going to be picking up some of the kind of more obscure, kind of like on the fringe characters. Like they're going to have Ghost Rider. I think they're going to have who is the son of Satan? I cannot remember his name, but he's going to be in there. He'll be in there. I think they're going to do. I think Lilith, maybe, I don't know, but they're gonna have a couple other other characters, but they're gonna have like them big ones like Iron Man, Wolverine. You know, they got to put Logan in there to do that. So
of course
they've got that coming out in March of 2020. They've announced Saints Row reboot, which I don't know if you're a fan of those at all, coming out in February of 2020. No big surprise. Horizon Forbidden West is the sequel to the Horizon game that came out 5 years ago, I believe, for the PS4. That got delayed to February 2022. Call of Duty Vanguard campaign. They announced that you're going to be following a Soviet female sniper in that, which is kind of interesting, I thought. If any of this piques your interest, guys, just let me know. The one thing that I definitely wanted to note in here, they're going to be coming out with Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, coming out in spring 2022. That's my jam. That's my comfort food right there. I love me some Lego video games. On other news too, they're actually going to be they announced that the Xbox Cloud Gaming is going to be coming to Xbox Series X and S and then Xbox One in holiday 2021. So that's going to allow people to basically play games on servers without downloading them and essentially just have I guess for lack of a better word, a modem that, you know, transfers the data onto your screen. You know, that's kind of a cool concept. What do you think about those, James?
Well, I think it's kind of the same thing we talked about last week. I think it's a cool idea. I think you're going to need some awfully fast internet to make something like that run.
Well, I mean, if you have gigabit internet, I'm just saying, you know, hypothetically.
So actually, I have the one thing. I play Stadia very rarely, but I pay $10 a month for Stadia Pro because I love it. So I'll do Destiny on it, but I think that's kind of basically what we're talking about. I never have to download a game. I'm not taking up any storage space. Like when my daughter was born, I was in the hospital with my laptop playing Destiny on Stadia. Like, you know, the hospital, you know, had, you know, whatever speeds they do have. So, I think it's possible. You know, I think, especially, I was about to say Microsoft is a huge company. They should be able to figure out, but Google's a huge company. So,
they're both humongous. Yeah.
And
so that's what I was kind of worried about too. Is like, I saw the advent of Stadia when it came out and it kind of like dropped off, you know, after a little bit. And I think their biggest problem was they just didn't have the games that a lot of the games that people wanted to play. I mean, other than like Destiny. And I think that's one of the biggest things that Microsoft has going forward is such a huge, you know, computer company on top of like the Xbox division where it's just like video games and they have all these studios to kind of, you know, battle a little bit against PlayStation. I think that they're going to have a little bit better run for their money. And I think they were kind of just gently dipping their toe into it as opposed to, I think Google, in my opinion, went a little too fast. I think they probably should have kind of taken a little bit longer. I don't know how you feel about it, sir.
I think the biggest issue with Stadia is multiplayer games. It's just because the internet differences and like, you know, if you're playing on a computer, you got hardwired internet, no issues, blah, blah, blah. But if you're on Wi-Fi at a cafe or something, yes, you can play it. And 95% of the time, there's no lag, there's no issues. But that 5%, that's too much for gamers. You know, it's gamers it can never happen.
They lose their ever-loving minds.
Well, especially if you're playing shooters or something. I mean, like, even just 100 millisecond delay is enough to lose you a lot of matches.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Like Cyberpunk 77, that was a total mess. But if you had Stadia, you were playing, it looked better than, you know, most people who have their computers at home and a lot of systems, you know, and you didn't have to worry about lag because you're by yourself. So if you had Stadia for Cyberpunk, you had a much better experience. It was faster. You didn't have to download anything, blah, blah, blah. But most people are, you know, the system sellers are the Call of Duties and the Halos and that kind of stuff. You buy it to have and to play with your friends and blah, blah, blah. And if you're on Stadia, you're not using it for that. So it doesn't have that traction that other systems get because you're not on Stadia with your friends. And it can be awesome, but you'll have to be playing a slower paced game where the occasional lag isn't a huge issue.
Well, and we've talked about this before. I think this is just another step of Microsoft trying to build up like this Microsoft gaming ecosystem because we've seen them do this before now already. So now their PC games and their Xbox games run on essentially the same OS, and so they can just directly port them to each other. You have the Game Pass, which keeps you locked into PC and Xbox to experience these games as they come out. And now they're going to add this Stadia type multiplayer feature where you can keep playing the same games on your smartphone or whatever, wherever you're at. It's like it's all about they're building up Xbox as, you know, a gaming ecosystem. It's a place you play games at.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like I said, I think it's kind of the one thing that, like I said, I don't know, is it me, but like it seems like for like Google, like they come out with things like, you know, the Google phone and like other things like that, and they don't like if they don't see immediate results, they kind of like they pull the plug on things, and that kind of bothers me a little bit. I think if they would have, and they kind of did it with Stadia a little bit, like they still have it, but they pulled a ton of resources from it, from what I've noticed. So they don't have a lot of as many people as they were working on as they did originally. And so I think if they would just put the time and the effort into it and just wait to see if it bears fruit, I think they could actually do something. You know, like maybe they bring in their own studios, and maybe wheel and deal a little bit, and they're able to get some better games, like you were saying. You know, get some better games. You know, build up a bigger library for people. Maybe work on those tiny little bugs and things like that. You know, hopefully, you know, getting those more hardcore gamers, multiplayer gamers in there, and just hopefully maybe working on that a little bit. It might iron out some issues that they're having with it. And I think it's what Microsoft's been doing though, is they've kind of seen that they're looking at more the long game, like you said, James.
Well, and they're playing with economics of scale, and that's going to be the issue: is can they capture enough people into their system to pay for it?
Yep.
Because I was reading some interesting articles about this, and like to release AAA titles like monthly, completely paid for by the Xbox, you know, Game Pass. They would have to get most of the active gamers in the world to sign up for their subscription. It's like, can they get like 6 million subscribers signed up for their system before they go bankrupt? Is going to be there.
Well, that's the thing though too. They've got it set up. They're going to be having it set up, like you were saying, is they're going to have it even more backwards compatible. Like they're going to have phones. They're going to have the Series X's. They're even going to be. They're possibly even talking about you might actually even be able to do it on an app on your TVs. Like, and all you have to do is have a Bluetooth, like maybe either a hardwired controller or a Bluetooth controller possibly in there, and you don't even have to own a console at that point. I mean, it's basically what Stadia does, right? Like they don't even have, like, it's a dongle, right? Is that what you just?
It'll connect either a cable directly to your computer, right? But if you're using like a TV, the Chromecast, the controller connects through the Chromecast. So if you plug that into like a Fire Stick, wherever you're at, you plug it in, boom, you can game. And it works awesome. It looks beautiful. It's just, you know, if you're, like I said, if you're not playing a multiplayer game, Stadia, if you're listening right now, you're not a big multiplayer game and you like gaming, go buy Stadia. $10 a month for Stadia Pro is worth every penny, and they even have free games you can play. So I definitely recommend it. It's just not for the hardcore gamers.
No, I understand completely. So, but yeah, so moving on from that, there's a few more things that got announced. I know, James, you may not care as much, but April O'Neil got announced as a playable character in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles side-scroller, Shredder's Revenge. It's my jam right there. I just had to say it because I'm a huge TMNT fan.
Wait, Shredder's Revenge. So is this like a sequel to the freaking arcade game we used to play at Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah, the thing that we dumped so many tokens into, and I was like, "Thank God my uncle works here because I can get free tokens." So, but yeah, that was the only thing that I went there for. But yeah, it's kind of got that feel to it, and it's got the same little side-scrolling kind of things going on. But they just randomly threw in, it's a brand new game, and they threw in April O'Neil in there as a playable character. So I thought that was pretty cool. So, and then they also announced Metroid Dread. They have a trailer 2 they dropped for it. Have you seen this yet, James, at all?
I haven't looked at it, but Metroid is always a fun game.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's one of Nintendo's staples on one of their pillars. So that was really cool. That's kind of more of another side scroller game. They're kind of going back to that old school stuff, but they're also kind of adding a few more targeting things in there that they've pulled from some of the newer games. And another really weird one I saw, it's Giants Uprising. They released a cinematic trailer for that. So you actually play as a giant, as you were. So the whole premise is you are a giant that has been newly freed from enslavement at the hands of humans, and your goal is to get revenge on those who have wronged you. If you want to try this, there's a demo on Steam. So it looks bizarre. I don't know what it's going to be like.
I'm not sure what to think of that.
I don't know either. It's just like you're just gonna be walking around like stomping on people. I don't know. That's why I said it looks kind of bizarre and interesting. So I just don't know what the whole premise behind it would be. So
well, it sounds like it would be really easy. Like, is this just you walking around stomping on people? Is that like the whole game, or
maybe it's like, you know, you have to fight like hundreds or thousands of like little folks, as it were. You know, maybe that's the whole thing. You know, I don't know. I just don't want to see what the I'm really interested to see what the story is like from there. I'm gonna probably download the demo on Steam. I don't know, sometime the next week or so, because I gotta switch over to nights here next weekend. So maybe I'll grab it here. But the other thing I was going to tell you about, they had a ton of like little indie games, James, and the one that really piqued my interest was I saw this. It's called Cult of Lamb. If you want to see this, it is bizarre. So you basically play this little lamb that is kind of gets possessed by a demon inside of a ceremony. Like the people are going to sacrifice you because you're a sacrificial lamb, and somehow you get possessed by a demon, and then you get free. You kill your captors, and then people start to worship you. It is so weird and so out there. I was like,
it sounds like that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then you have to go and battle other little animals that have been possessed by demons, and it kind of has that Sakura of Rice and Ruin feel to it. Like, you know, you have to like build up your settlement a little bit, and you have to go out and like fight the bad guys and things like that. It looks really fun.
Yeah, this looks like a lot of fun.
It looks cutie, but there's a lot of blood in it. So it's like a lot of fluff and blood. So, but yeah, those are the big announcements from the GamesCom 2021. If there's anything that you guys have out there in podcast land thought of or heard about from Gamescom, let us know that we didn't talk about on here. We're going to be moving on just a little bit. So we're moving on to the next piece of news, which is, I don't know how you feel about this, James. Overwatch's McCree is going to get renamed. Do you see this?
Yeah, no surprise there.
Well, they've got a lot of flack in the last week or so, you know.
I think they're just going to call him the Cowboy now.
Seriously? That's what you think about that? I don't know.
Well, if you haven't kept up with the Blizzard controversy, the Sirr Swag YouTube channel did a big feature on it, and their gaming news without the bullshit for this month.
Yeah, it's kind of a colossal, you know.
They've been going through removing references to all the developers in all their games, and it's just becoming really embarrassing. I'm really wondering if we're going to see the death of Blizzard over this one.
That's what really makes me sad, is because I really want to see. I really want to play Diablo 2, but I'm really hoping for Diablo 4 to be released before, maybe it happens is that maybe Activision and Blizzard part ways.
Well, that would be nice. Maybe Diablo 4 will get the Hellgate London treatment.
Yeah, or maybe they make
I did actually enjoy that game. It was a good game. But
So, sir, do you have any opinion on the Overwatch McCree story at all?
None at all. Never played it in game my life.
That's really just like, you're like, Overwatch, what's that? Get off my lawn. No, I get it, man. But yeah, it's just kind of one of those strange kind of stories that I was like, well, I'll just throw this in there because it's one.
I hate McCree anyway. He's a terrible character.
Oh yeah, hey, I like Matt Mercer as his voice, but I do not like him I do not like to play that character. So
Roadhog is my jam.
It's okay. I won't hold it against you. I'm more of a Zenyatta kind of guy, so that's just me though. It's okay. But anyways, so moving on from less happy news to more happy news, or happier news. Did you guys get a chance to see that the new Spider-Man No Way Home at all? You seen that trailer at all? Either of you guys?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's what I was alluding to earlier when you were talking about Doctor Strange change time or whatever. I was like, hey, yes, we're talking about Spider-Man now.
We definitely are. And my brain was just like, nope, I'm not going to make that mental connection. Apparently you've got more brain cells on 1 hour of sleep as opposed to I have on 6. So it's okay. Congratulations.
But yeah, because I knew nothing about it, other than the No Way Home, and I knew somehow there were going to be some sort of multidimensional things. But after watching the Loki show, forgot the name of it, but after watching that, I assumed that was somehow going to make it into the Spider-Man. But based on that trailer, they're going a different route. They're doing I've heard about it from the comics. I never actually read the comics. When basically, I know that well, I don't want spoilers if you haven't actually watched the trailer and you're listening to this for some reason, but
yeah, we can spoil a trailer. It's fine.
Yeah,
I'm going to say everybody's watched because they had 355.5 million views in the first 24 hours. I'm pretty sure everyone has seen this trailer.
Actually, I'm on YouTube right now. It's got 62 million views.
Holy mother of God. Nice. So, but anyways, go ahead, sir. Sorry.
So I knew the storyline of Peter Parker. Everybody knew his name, and he, did the magic to where nobody knew his name again. But from what I understand, that was kind of a big deal in the comics. I didn't know if Marvel would actually go that route and actually do that, because the ramifications are well, obviously, because what the movie is, the ramifications are crazy of how that affects so many things. So, I mean, it was really interesting seeing that that's what they're going to do here. And I am one of those anti-spoiler people. I watched just enough to know that I want to see it, and then I cut it off. I'm done, So I saw that storyline and said, "Oh, I'm in." So whatever this is I'm in. And if they release another trailer, I'm not going to watch it. Any previews, or whatever, I'm avoid it, because now I know what's going on, and I know enough to know I want to see this movie. So when it drops, I'll be there, opening day or whatever whatever may be.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I've ruined a lot of movies by trying to look up a review online, say, "Oh, is this a good movie or not?" And you read half the review, and I'm like, "Okay, you spoiled the entire thing. I guess I don't need to watch the movie now."
No, yeah, that's I can agree with that, and I'm of the mind of I pretty much will just watch the first drop trailer that they do, and I won't do anything else after that if I really like the film. So I said I watched this one and I was super ecstatic to watch it, because like I said, it had a lot of really awesome little tidbits in there. I will say this: they're bringing back a lot of old characters from the other movies. I will say that, without ruining a bunch of stuff. And it makes me really excited and really happy for these movies, this series of Spider-Man movies, because I'm a huge fan of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, and I can't wait to kind of see what little tidbits they throw into the movie and whatnot. So,
well, and I suspect this is meant to serve as a bridge too between the old, the first three phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where they did the Avengers storyline. And now they're going to move on to something else, and this is probably going to be a bridge movie.
It's basically Disney saying, "We play nice with Sony. Yay! come be our friend, Sony. Come be our friend. You want to give us
what?
the..."
At this point, I just want to see the X-Men part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's right. It'll get there eventually. They tried with New Mutants a little bit, and Dark Phoenix a little bit, which don't even get me started on that. That was something else entirely. But like New Mutants wasn't terrible. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible.
Did not care for
what's that?
Did not care for that one.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I wasn't like ecstatic about it, but I was just like, what is going on here? Like, you could tell somebody got their fingers in there, and they just kind of messed with the pudding a little bit too much, and it definitely came out tasting sour in my opinion. But yeah, I know. I don't know.
What one got away from you right there.
Yeah, it did. It happens. Okay.
I was just like, okay.
It's okay. You know what? Sometimes my brain makes mental connections that just don't make sense to other people, but it made sense to me, and they're going to go it. So, you know what, James?
It's like the fish sticks and custard thing from Dr.
It's not a good combination. Yeah. And there we go. They stuck the fish sticks in the custard, guys. Not a good combination. There you go. That's just, I don't know what's going on with my brain today. So anyways, sleep deprivation, that's what's going on with my brain. But anyways, so I'm really excited to see what they do with this. And I kind of hope that they put all the little fun stuff in, and I cannot wait to see how all the other Marvel movies will tie into this. So
yeah, it's the most excited I've been about a Marvel movie for a while now.
So yeah, then Jackie actually told me that she wants me to take her to go see this one if it comes. Depending on if it comes out, if they release it on Disney Plus, probably just going to sit in and watch it.
I can't imagine they'll do that. Not with this one.
That's what I said.
Black Widow, they pushed back 600 times, and they weren't sure about it, and they were like, let's do it both ways. But this is Spider-Man. You know, people are going to go see Spider-Man. So
that's what I said. I was like, I'm kind of interested to see what they do with it, because they're kind of like doing a mixed bag right now. I don't know if you've noticed. This is kind of going on a tangent a little bit, but like they released Black Widow on Disney Plus on the premiere and in theaters, but then when like Shang-Chi, they did just theater release, which is bizarre.
Yeah, well, they got sued after Black Widow, so maybe they were like, you know what, let's not mess around.
Let's just not mess around. It's like I don't know, like why would they do that? Why do you think, sir?
Well, it's got to be that balance, because with COVID going on, there's not as many people going to the movie theater. I want to see Shang-Chi, but I'm not right now. I'm not going to the theater. So there's stuff like that where even if I want to see it, I'm just not necessarily going out. I got a baby at home. I'm not messing with it. Mm-hmm. So, if you put it for $30 on a streaming service, a lot more people are going to buy it, but you're just the revenue is different. And like, with the actors, from what I understand, a lot of their contracts are based on theatrical, not budget
revenue.
They get a percent of they get percent of gross. Yeah.
So if it makes X amount of dollars at the theater, they'll make more money. But if they own makes smaller amount of money, but makes more on the Disney Plus, that may not be worked into their contracts or whatever. So it's just a mess. And honestly, I don't know how they're making $200 million movies right now in the COVID era, because you're not going to make more than $200 million, even if people are if you got. I don't know the numbers. I'm pulling this out of my butt, but if there are 50 million people that subscribe to Disney Plus, you're not going to get 20 million more people to subscribe because of one movie, No. So I just don't know how you recoup $200 million on a movie. So it's just a shell game and a play game, and they're trying to figure out how to make money on the back end and get the most eyes on it,
Yeah, I think a lot of these movies are probably mostly made, or they've already sunk, too many millions of dollars to stop, because, they probably filmed these things 2 or 3 years ago, and now they've been working on editing and then production and everything else. And so, I know COVID hit last year, but if they've got a movie that's half made that they already dumped like $100 million into, what are they going to do?
I feel like we're seeing the ripples now, but my biggest question is, 4 years from now, what does the movie scene look like? Because that means you would have to start, you would have to budget, you would have to find actors, all that during the COVID era. So I just don't know how you're going to actually allocate a $200 million budget, knowing that, you're not going to make $1 billion at the movie theater. You're just not right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're going to see a big gap in movies and games and everything coming up. Like I said, next spring, we're going to see just a big gap where everything that just didn't happen over the last couple of years.
Like that, it's just like, this is like further down the food chain, right? Talking about computer parts, like it's almost nigh impossible to get, graphics cards at a reasonable rate right now, right? And it's the same thing with like cell phones, and then you're even starting to see this with vehicles, like, and stuff like that. I like some of the guys that I work with, they look online and they see, hey, I can sell my 2004 Ford pickup for an extra $2,500, and it's been used and it's got 167,000 miles on it. It's just like, when in fact, because you can't you can't go up the road to the dealership because they've got no used vehicles in stock, because they're just not making stuff anymore. It's the same thing. So you're going to see these ripple effects, throughout our economy, and the world economy, for the next, probably like 3-4 years, probably. So it'll be interesting to see how things shake out. So we will wait and see, guys, and hopefully you'll hear from us in 3 or 4 years on how we feel about things. Maybe we'll just be old and crotchety and be like, just get off my lawn. And it's that back in my day, MCU was good. Who knows? Who knows? And that's probably like, but it will probably be us. So
it all went downhill after they killed off Iron Man.
It's true. You can't ever bring Iron Man back. So all right, so we have actually a little bit of a catch-up story we're going to do real quick. James, do you want to talk about the YouTuber on the retro games scam?
Sure. So last time we had this podcast, we talked a little bit about they've been selling retro video games for ungodly millions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's
way more money than we will see in our lifetime. That's exactly what happened.
And we talked about how there's a YouTuber called Carl Jobst, who is very well respected in the speedrunning community, dropped a almost hour-long video talking about how this had happened and how this is pretty much exactly what happened in the 1980s and 1990s with the collectible coin boom. And in fact, many of the very same people are involved. And the ownership of the video game grading company Wada Games, which is actually not the first video game grading company, but they also have a partnership with an auction house owned by the same guy who did the coin bust thing.
Partnership. Yeah.
They say it's a partnership, but actually their executives are on both companies, so they're pretty much the same. For all intents and purposes, Wada Games is owned by the auction house, Heritage Auction House.
Something's rotten in Denmark, methinks. That's what I feel.
So yeah, they've created this this retro video game bubble where things have gone from like $40 or $80 for a copy of Mario to people are selling Mario games for $100 billion. I mean,
yeah, that's ridiculous. And so, like you said, this Carl Jobs, he pointed this out, and luckily you showed me this YouTube video and sent it over to me, and I had no idea what this was going on. Like, I'm sure most of the world probably didn't know this was going on, but you kind of watch this stuff, and it just kind of starts to make it. And I'm not a big fan of conspiracy theories, but when the dots line up, like, pretty evenly, where there's smoke there's usually fire. It's, you kind of go with it.
This isn't a conspiracy theory. The guy who owns Heritage Auction House literally wrote the book on how to make money on collectible coins, and he is doing the exact same thing that he almost went to jail for 20 years ago.
And it sounds so apparently what you're saying is he didn't learn his lesson, and he's probably going to end up, getting some hefty fines. I'm sure. Yeah. And I kind of feel that, the way these two companies are meshed together, are so tightly interwound. I think there's a lot of familiarity within these companies that kind of just, smacks of, just a lot of greed. And I think that's kind of where this is going. And I think like I said, in the next couple of years, I think you're going to see either the federal government probably throw a lawsuit at these guys, or if maybe even not them, maybe one of the state, like a local, like a state government, would probably bring something up against these guys, because it's just, I just don't foresee that this can last as long as it is, as
I think the bubble's about to burst.
Yeah, especially with the last one they just sold. They sold a Super Mario 3 game, and it actually topped more than the Super Mario Bros. Game actually did. It was even higher.
Wow.
Like by a little bit. It was like 2 million as opposed to like 1.5. But I was just like, that is insane.
It's an absurd amount of money.
And the thing is, when you look at this stuff, it's literally friends of people on like the other boards, or like people that work for them. They're buying these games for these people, and then they're reposting them a few months later for higher prices, right?
Well, and that's the market of a collectible item, bubble, is it's not being bought by collectors, it's being bought by speculators.
Yep. And that's what they're doing. And that's just that's why I said, I just don't foresee this as a good thing that's going to come out in the long run. So, all right. So final happy story of the day. After pumping all that money into China to make them happy, Blizzard is now going to have their hours cut in China by to 3 hours a week for all children of 16 years or younger. So China basically passed a law, basically requiring that all children under 16 are no longer allowed to play for more than 3 hours a week of video games. So like I said, Blizzard, they pumped a ton of money into this Chinese market. I'm like, they're going to just get demolished, because that's actually one of the biggest markets for them right now, right, James?
For a lot of things, yeah. Especially like the MOBAs and the competitive games are huge in China.
So what do you think about China putting their? I'm
not sure, because part of me is like, well, are they actually trying to help young kids? Probably not. I think they want to limit the exposure of young children to Western ideals.
What are you talking about, James?
And they've also the China's had a big problem with kids using video games to get around their censorship laws and to get around the government surveillance. Like when Animal Crossing came out last year, people were writing messages in the sand in Animal Crossing to try and get around the government censorship of everything.
For the protests in Hong Kong, right?
Yeah, so I think this is really another move that the government is ostensibly doing for children, that they're just trying to crack down on information control even tighter.
No, I understand. I completely agree. Do you kind of share the same sentiments, sir, or are you kind of
It's more of a kill two birds with one stone kind of thing in my head
yeah.
because, like, as a father of a 2-year-old during COVID, like I understand kids will get addicted to electronics.
I mean, hell, I'm addicted to electronics. Let's be honest with you. Our generation, like, we sit in front of a screen for how many hours a day? You know, it's just like, you know, either be it for work or whatever it is. So yeah, you know, it's.
I was so idealistic. Those parents to say, "I didn't show my kid a screen for 2 years," and I
Oh my God.
bless you, parent. And I don't know how you did it, but I salute you because it's
Yeah,
just not a
like
possibility in my
I
home
don't
right
have the
now.
energy. That's why I was like,
Well,
we started doing screens with my kid this year too, and that's I kind of finally told Jackie, I was like, we have to like at least get him like give me 30 minutes, like just give him 30 minutes of screen time. Even that, like that gives me a little bit of quiet time where I can sit there and I can actually get
Yeah.
something done. So,
And especially like we're both trying to work from home, and it's like,
oh
like
my God, you're better than I see. I'm still my wife and I. She's a teacher here in town, and so like at least we're still kind of going to and from work, and we're kind of having that thing. But like, yeah, I couldn't imagine being in the same house with your spouse, working and trying to watch two kids. That's tough,
yeah.
man. My heart goes out to you on that one.
Yeah. So, I
So
mean, so bringing it back, like, I understand maybe 12, 13, 14-year-olds, they're probably glued to whatever console, whatever. And you're honestly, your mind is shaped at that age. And like, I don't necessarily think that, playing a violent video game is going to make you a violent person, but just the setups and, the way things are framed, that's how your mind kind of thinks, what's normal. And the people you talk to will kind of, you understand that's what's normal in the world based on your interactions, whatever. So if you do that, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, that can affect who you grew up to be. So I understand trying to limit that, but how that works in real life, I have no idea. Like, is there some sort of code that locks up the game after 3 hours? Is I don't know how that works in real life, and it probably is more about censorship because you want to limit what they can do, but at the end of the day, I don't know how it physically works, and it's probably one of those laws that sounds good on paper, that so people voted for it, or it's
well, they definitely did vote for it. Not in China.
And in China, it probably literally is in the game code. They already have a law in China where you can't release a game on the Chinese market without letting the government have a backdoor to the game servers.
That's with everything in China, but yeah. So, but what I took from that, sir, from what you're saying is, so what you're basically saying is, if you want to get your kid off of video games, send him over to you. You'll have an internship for him for woodworking.
Oh yeah,
That's what you're gonna do. It's what you're gonna do.
I will gladly do that. Yeah.
Joking, guys, joking. Don't bother the man. So he's got plenty of stuff on his plate right now with all those kids and working from home. So, but yeah, that's I'm kind of the same kind of mind. I'm kind of in the middle with both of you guys too a little bit. I see where China is coming from on this a little bit. They're a huge surveillance country, and they're all about monitoring every little thing that their people do, and they're just trying to watch, limit the amount of ways that their people can have a normal discourse amongst themselves, and that they're able to track at least, and they can put their thumb down on it a little bit. But at the same time, I get it. I get, if it was my kids, I would want to limit them, playing a ton of video games, watching TV. It's kind of like, my wife and I, we have this agreement. We don't let Lewis watch more than an hour a day of television or screen time, whatever it is, because we want him to, interact with people and get out there and do stuff. But unless he goes over to James's house and he just watches a ton of My Hero Academia, so yeah, there's worse things he could be watching. But anyways, I'm joking. Hey, talking about that screen time, but yeah, I get it. It's tough to try to, want to have to, especially take care of your kids for, especially if you're working from home, or God forbid you're a single parent, you're trying to do that and watch your kids. Yeah. That's a lot. You got to have some kind of way to, be able to, I hate to say, television nanny a little bit. Mm-hmm. So, but
that's got to come from the parents, though. I mean, that just can't come from the government. That's got to be parents saying, this is what we want for our kids.
Yeah,
and it's the right thing to do. I mean, I do think I agree with you, sir, that kids should not be on electronics all day, every day. I think you're right. It teaches them it's not, again, it's not the violence thing. I think it's that it teaches that expectation of constant stimulation, that expectation of
Instant
immediate
gratification.
instant gratification. It teaches them to kind of gamify the way they deal with the world. I mean, there's a lot of things you learn from games that you probably don't need to know at that age.
Yeah.
Yep. So what you're saying, James, is to juxtapose the internship with Sirr, you're going to be doing an internship on miniature painting. Is that what you're going to be doing?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, James. So we have a D&D group, and James he paints miniatures for kind of like relaxation, I would say.
Yeah,
and
much.
You do a really good job. I'll put it this way. I'm pleasantly surprised every time you come over. And you have a different miniature painted each time, and it's pretty cool to watch. So I would never.
I've watched YouTube videos of people doing that. Just I don't know why. It's just it looks so relaxing.
Why do we watch anything on YouTube? It's because it's fascinating, right? I just got done watching a Korean street food YouTube video, or it was like 20 minutes before we got going here. I'm just like watching it, and I'm like, that would be crazy to watch. Like, how do they make it? It's like how they make it. Like they're folding the bread like 72 times, and then they cut a little hole and they put like cream filling in it. And I'm just like, oh, that looks so good.
Now those videos are dangerous.
Why did I watch that? Why did I watch that? Because it looked really good. So, but yeah, that's I think that's pretty much everything to do with the news today, guys. Do you have any other bits and tidbits of news that you guys might want to throw in there at all?
No, I heard there's a Civil War on, though.
There's a Civil War. Oh, the segue. The king of segues, the king of puns, James. I'm so proud that you're here. So finally, guys, we're going to get into the meat of the episode as kind of a oh, wow, I'm having a brain fart here. We're going to cut this out because it sounds awful with me just kind of having dead air here. As kind of not a gift. Wow, I'm having a brain fart. James, what's another word for having basically having an event for somebody to come over whenever they come over?
Soiree. I don't know.
In light of this soiree, we're gonna cut this. Yeah, see, this is why he's here, because my brain will just randomly stop working at times. What's that?
Disco. It's fine.
Just go. You're making fun of me again, you little shit. So
why would I do that? I've never.
I don't know what before. I know. I don't bite my thumb at you. You bite your thumb at me. Anyways,
I don't bite my thumb at you, sir, but I do bite my thumb, sir.
Okay, so we're gonna cut this, and we're gonna start here. So, all right. In light of this soiree, as James put it, and having Sirr over here, we have elected to talk about Captain America: Civil War, which is actually the first introduction of one of Sirr's favorite Marvel characters, the Black Panther, actually. So I will totally agree with you on that, though, that this is the introduction of a couple of my favorite characters. Black Panther and actually the new Spider-Man was this is the first introduction of both of them into the MCU. So James, would you like to do a quick little rundown on the Captain America: Civil War, what it was all about?
Sure, I can do that.
Haha, I sprung it on you. You didn't expect it, did you?
I did not expect that. No.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Anyway, Captain America: Civil War is comes right in the middle of like the 20 movie series of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe phase 1 through 3, and it's kind of the midpoint of the storylines for a lot of the major characters, especially Captain America and Iron Man, who are like the principal characters of this, and arguably kind of the principal characters of the whole arc of the story. And it is kind of a movie about like this philosophical divide between them, where things come to a head early on, where there's a bombing that takes place in Wakanda.
No, it's a bombing that happens. It happens at the EU. I believe
it happens at the EU. There's a bombing at the EU. Also, they're getting a lot of bad press for a lot of the damage they've caused in previous movies, like Age of Ultron. And the United Nations starts this movement, which is like, I think it was like 117 countries signed on to create this oversight committee for superheroes. One, because of the collateral damage. Two, because they're not respecting borders. And so the United Nations is pretty much like, okay, guys, we're doing this. We want you to sign on to this voluntarily. Go for it. And there's this big roundtable discussion with all the superheroes, and there are some significant differences.
Absolutely.
Iron Man is feeling really, really guilty about the stuff he's done, about his selfish life, and he's like having this big selfless moment where he wants to get in on the ground level of this. He's like, if we do this willingly, then they'll play with us.
Sirr's got some stuff.
Sirr's got some feelings there. Yeah. where he wants to, be part of the system and, try and keep control of it. And then Captain America is like, hey, I've lived my whole life with the government screwing us. Hydra literally took over S.H.I.E.L.D. for a while there. We can't trust these people. We're still the best judges of what's going on. And it kind of breaks down from there. Is that fair? The Sirr had a strong opinion about something I said.
It's the people that are really into the MCU versus the person that is not as much yourself, James, is not into the MCU. So you're definitely the layman in here. So, like I said, it's kind of like when I wade into your anime territory, James. It's I don't
educate me then.
Go ahead, sir. What did you take Barron's with?
So yeah, my biggest so there are plenty. Oh my goodness! All right.
Oh, you got them all fired up, James.
The idea of the Accords is based around they're causing everywhere they go there's collateral damage, and we need some reins on them. They need to be responsible for the actions. But literally, all the examples where aliens came out of a big portal in the sky and tried to destroy the city. They stopped the aliens, and the city was destroyed in the process. So what is the other option? They just stay home and let the aliens destroy everything, and then what's not my fault? That's blame it on the alien. And Sokovia is like literally the entire city was. The whole point was the city was being raised up and dropped in order to basically it's like a bomb. Basically it's a nuclear bomb without the bomb. They didn't build the apparatus that raised the city up. They just stopped the bomb from going off or whatever. So,
well,
they
did build Ultron though. So,
you can get mad at Tony for designing Ultron, but you can't say they destroyed Sokovia. So it's just there are issues with the whole premise of what the Sokovia Accords are for. But besides that, my bigger issue, what you were talking about, is you saying Tony was being selfless. It's like, no, Tony had he was in his guilt trip, and he was blaming himself for the deaths, and he was already having his issues, and so he was telling the team to do this because it's what he felt and with his guilt. Everybody else had their own opinions, but no, I'm right. I'm guilty. We shouldn't do this. We need police. We need people, to determine our decisions. It's like, yeah, you feel like you need that because you're feeling guilty, but that objectively, that's not a logical decision. You're making that decision with your emotions. So I want to push back on that a little bit because I feel like he was, I don't know, that's you, buddy. That's not the system. That's not we need this.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Like he's feeling like he screwed up and he wants someone else to tell him when he needs to stop. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I completely agree with that actually as well, because like I said, he definitely kind of comes across as a little I wouldn't say self-serving. It's kind of he's trying to he is trying to ease his conscience quite a bit on that end. That's more of he's basically trying to do all the stuff basically because he just feels bad. Like you guys are saying, he's just trying to ease his own conscience. It's not so much a like we need to have this oversight and make make the right decision and kind of hand over the power to these people to have better oversight. It's really just about him trying to ease his conscience and making himself feel better about himself. That's really what it feels like.
And he proved that point later in the movie. I don't know your stance on spoilers because the episodes.
This movie has been out for 5-6 years now. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's been long enough.
Yeah, and
if you haven't seen it, it's on Disney Plus too. So like I said, if you guys haven't seen it, that's your own fault. Here we go. We'll do five spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead. There you go.
So I mean, the premise of all that was basically Tony saying we need oversight. We need people to tell us when we need to go somewhere because we can't make the decisions for ourselves. But then just about 30 minutes before the movie ends, he finds out that the Steve Rogers was right the whole time, that this was a big setup by Zemo or whatever. At that point, according to your own logic, you should go to Ross. You should say, hey, here's all the information. Should I go save Captain Rogers? But no, because he thinks he's right, and he thinks the the Ross or whatever may not make the right decision. He pretends to be flying off one place, throws on his suit, and flies the other. He's doing the exact thing he's been blaming them for doing.
He doubles back on himself like that, like a snake trying to eat itself a little bit, and it just kind of like annoys me. Like that is like you said. I love this movie. I like this movie quite a bit, and that's a reason why it doesn't make my top 5 Marvel movies is because a lot of this, like there's so many inconsistencies on like him doubling back on himself, right?
Yeah.
And it's mainly because of Tony Stark, right? But you have like he can't just make up his mind. And finally, when, like you said, when he finally comes around to figuring out, hey, I was wrong, the whole time I was wrong, but I don't trust the people that I was trying to put my faith in to begin with. It's like it made me so mad to watch that. But luckily, you have like some pretty like clear-cut personalities in here. Like you have Steve Rogers, and you don't have to worry about Steve. He's always going to be that kind of like that North Star in the Marvel universe. You don't have to worry about him changing a little bit, right?
So the thing with Steve though too is like he ultimately turned out to be right, but he didn't know that until the very end of the movie. Like he had a video of his friend killing a bunch of people, and he just decided to trust him to the point of becoming a criminal himself and fighting his own teammates. I mean,
to be fair though, that's kind of a lot of decisions you do in life. You don't know if it's going to work out well for you or not, and he kind of goes on his best judgment,
And even still, he wasn't necessarily just trying to run away at the beginning anyway. He wasn't trying to run away with the Winter Soldier. He was just trying to bring him in safely because they were trying to kill him on sight. So he was like, so even when they were arrested and Sharon Carter, Sharon Carter, she was like, this isn't how you want it to turn out. He was still saying, hey, at least he's not dead. We may be captured, but he's safe. We're here.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, that's what I wanted to happen. So it went to shit. It went to shit afterwards because Zemo's plan. But from Captain Rogers' standpoint, he was trying to do the right thing. He still Winter Soldier still got brought in safely or whatever. So that's what he was trying to do at the end of the day.
But yeah. So that is a kind of our initial feelings on the stuff. So guys, let's dig a little bit more into this. So obviously, Captain America: Civil War, if you guys haven't seen this yet, is a 2016 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics Captain America. It's produced by Marvel Studios and Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. It is technically the third movie in the Captain America series. You got Captain America: First Avenger, then you have Captain America: The Winter Soldier that comes for us, which actually introduced the Winter Soldier, who is Bucky Barnes. Spoilers if everybody hasn't seen this. But this is actually the 13th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was directed by Anthony and Joe Russo. And it was written by the screenplay was written by Christopher Marcus and Steve McFeely, and it stars the big boys and the big gals, all the big players in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You got Chris Evans, you got Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, Sebastian Stan, Anthony Mackie, Don Cheadle, Jeremy Renner, Chadwick Boseman, Paul Bettany, Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Rudd, Emily Van Camp, Tom Holland, Frank Grilliolo, William Hurt, and Daniel Bruhl. Now, these are all, like I said, these guys, they're in the whole thing.
I mean, it has so many of the characters involved that you could have just called it an Avengers movie and not a Captain America movie.
That's kind of what I was wondering too, right? So, like, I don't think they wanted to do that because they had this huge cast of people in there, but I think they kind of wanted to make it a nice little end cap for, no pun intended, for the Captain America, trilogy. So I think that's why they did that. I mean, they could have, like you said, they could have made an Avenger.
I think they also did 3 Iron Mans, and so this kind of balances that out now that you have 3 for each of them. But
which I kind of wish they would have done that for some of the other bigger characters. Like I think they had, didn't they? You might know this a little bit better than I do, sir. Do you know? Were they planning on doing a Black Panther trilogy? Because I know they've got the second one, so they are.
Yeah, I think pretty much everybody had their 3. Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever is in production now. Thor had his 3. Iron Man had his 3. Everybody had the little trilogy except for like Hulk. Hulk actually has his coming up now. So
yeah, he's got his actual franchise coming up because it's kind of weird. They kind of like stuck him in Thor Ragnarok, and then I guess they're just trying to see if he was going to be one to do it. I guess Mark Ruffalo's like, yeah, sign me up. This is a cash cow. I mean, so I don't know if, and like I said, on top of that, I don't know if Scarlett Johansson's going to be doing 3 now. Talking about that earlier. She's only got
There's
the 1.
There's a pretty good chance that Disney's going to shit can her at this point after
Well,
that
I mean,
lawsuit.
If you've seen Black Widow, I don't know exactly how. I think it was all a setup. So maybe it'll be 3 quote unquote Black Widow movies, but not 3 Scarlett Johansson movies. I think they may do it that
makes
way.
sense. Kind of like what they're doing with Black Panther. It's going to be either his sister or somebody else is going to kind of take up the mantle. Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking too. So, but yeah. So this whole talking about how this. I'm trying to think of this. So let's do some questions on this. So obviously we've all seen this movie. When did you first see the movie? Like, did you see it on opening day when it first came out? Did you go see it theaters, or did you see it on Disney Plus like a bum that you're stealing from your friend David, possibly, James?
I saw it on Netflix actually when it was in Netflix, because this one,
really?
for a while there. Well, because I remember all the Marvel movies were on Netflix like a year after the release.
They were
for a while. For a while now, before Disney Plus, brought all the stuff back under the Disney banner. Because whenever it first came out, I was in med school still, and I was way too busy to go to the theater. So
yeah, I can see that. Sir,
I caught up on all the Marvel movies whenever it was time for I think Avengers Endgame. I sat down and I binged them all over the course of a week or two.
You could have signed up for that. Was it the 36-hour marathon that some of these theaters had? You can sit there in a theater and watch all of them. I've heard.
I'd get sore.
Well, I actually heard of some. So I cannot remember his name. He is on a podcast with Kevin Smith. He actually did. It's Fat Man on Batman is what they do. He actually went to the theater and sat down and did the whole, it was like a 36-hour marathon. And I was just like, he stayed in there for 36 hours and he watched Infinity War when it came out, and I was like, God bless you, man.
Who could
That's
eat 30?
A lot.
I'm just saying, who could eat 36 hours of movie theater food? I'd be spending half that time in the John in the back. I mean,
yeah, either that or just be super stopped up, and you're just like, give me a diaper or something to loosen me up. It's just I don't know, but yeah, sir. So, sir, where did you actually first see this movie?
Oh yeah, movie theater. Pretty much all of these pre-COVID, I'm movie theater opening weekend. Well, past the first couple ones, but yeah, I'm a movie fan. That's what I do, and this was leading. And I guess because of kind of how you're talking about how it could have been an Avengers movie, and just because of Infinity War and Endgame coming afterwards, it kind of its memory is lessened and watered down a bit. But when this came out, this was a huge deal.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah,
absolutely. This was a big deal.
Opening weekend, I was there. I watched it. Again, I have issues with the ending. We can talk about that later, but I don't. That's why this was not really remembered in the pantheon with the 2 big ones. But I was there opening weekend, saw it, and it's this is got to talk about this one. So
no, absolutely.
Tell us what you think about the ending while we're on the topic.
Yeah. So yeah, what do you feel about the ending? What irks you about the ending?
Zemo's plan just. It makes no sense. It falls apart as to what exactly was supposed to happen here, So, I'm gonna tell my understanding of what just happened, and then you guys explain it to me from your end. So, his wife, child, and father die in Sokovia. They lived in the outskirts, whatever. They got killed in the aftermath. He wants vengeance on the Avengers. He says, "Well, obviously, I can't beat them up. I can beat them psychologically." So question mark from here, I guess because he worked in intelligence, he knows the other super soldiers exist somehow. So he goes and tracks down the guy that has the knowledge. He doesn't want to tell him. So he kills him and takes the Winter Soldier book and says, well, that's the next best thing. I can force it out of the Winter Soldier by reading these words. Again, his plan, I guess he has a 2-part plan. Part 1 is to kill the super soldiers because super people killed his family, so he just doesn't want super people to exist. So he kills all the super soldiers. But then part 2 was to tear the Avengers apart from within. Now, how that was supposed to get executed, I have no idea. He just so happened to hope that everybody was in the room at the same time and that he could play the video footage, and then Tony Stark would get super mad that the Winter Soldier killed his dad, and it would just break the relationship. And I guess that was his plan from the whole start. But how like that doesn't make any sense to me. So the whole leading up to the movie was great. Leading up to the ending was great. The big scene at the airport was great, but then finding out the end of the movie is just them fighting each other because Zemo played the videotape of Tony Stark's father getting killed, and everybody just happened to be there because Tony Stark had no idea where they were, and so yes, it just that didn't make any sense to me, and I think that the ending was really weak here, which is why I think it's not remembered as well as the other ones.
Yeah, I guess two things I'd say is I agree with you. It doesn't make any sense. His whole plan relied on them not communicating with each other and not being a team, and then it just happening to work out the way he wanted it to. I mean, it's like the plan of a child, right? If you're here and I'm here, then I'll say this and it's all going to work out. And I honestly think the ending would have been better if Zemo wasn't even there. Like, I don't think the movie needed a supervillain. It could have just been them fighting over a difference of philosophy, and I think that would have been a more memorable film. I think to me, it kind of undermines the whole emotional impact in the movie that you've had this whole movie about the two of them having this, big difference of opinion and how this has rippled out to everyone else in the team. And then at the end, they're like, "Oh, wait, you can be friends now. There was someone, there was a mastermind at work, so it's all undone now." And it
was MODOK the whole time, James. It just
and I know it for me, it's just like, why did we need a villain behind this? Why couldn't it just been people being people? I mean, because that's one of the beauty for Marvel for me is that the superheroes are still people and they do the stupid things that people do.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on that. It's one of those things is like, how do you make that all kind of fit together and work and not make it sound dumb, and I honestly kind of made me sad that they didn't kind of pick a little bit from the comic books and that event Civil War, because in that they I think they did a little bit better, and they tried to make it I like a little bit more, I guess, fantastical in the movie a little bit. I'd say they try to make it a little more sensational. Trying to get, I guess they're wanting to have that big end fight like they do in all the movies. And they were just
say cinematic.
Yes, thank you, James. Thank you so much. I was on a roll, and you just came in and just derailed me, you son of a bitch. But phenomenal. But yeah, I feel like they were trying to do that just so they can kind of say, hey, these are the little dots that, the little things we have to have in every single movie. You got to have an emotional arc, and at the very end, you got to have a big fight scene between the two main protagonists, and for whatever reason, it's like, you don't have to have that in there, and maybe you just have it where, say they have a disagreement, and then they have some big event that happens, and then say they pass the Sokovia Accords, and whenever Tony goes and tries to have a conversation with the council, and he says, hey, we need to go fight this big bad, and they're like, no, we don't need you to go there, we're not gonna let you go there. Maybe he has a crisis of moment there and says, oh, holy shit, they're wrong, maybe something like that, that sounds like a better, that's just me thinking of that in the last 10 minutes, maybe they could have put a little more effort into it, as opposed to we have to have Captain America and Iron Man fight each other. That's going to be more fun. I think it was just kind of an excuse to have Tony and Steve fight each other essentially. But
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, that was awesome. It was fun to look at, but the plot is kind of what doesn't work.
That's kind of what I was saying too. It's just like it felt a little disingenuous in my opinion. It's just kind of like you said, James. It feels like children made up a plan to have these two guys meet and fight for X reason that really, they could have literally been fighting about anything, it's like, and they just like, we're going to bring in Tony's parents about this. And, oh my God, the Winter Soldier killed his parents. Oh my God. 30 years ago.
And somehow the movie still ends with Tony on the moral high ground. Basically he just tried to kill Bucky, that can't be explained in any other way, but, not what's the word I'm looking for? Vigilante justice. It's just he's murdering because he's mad about his parents. That is not that's not a government ruling. That's not a sanction. That's him just trying to kill a guy because he killed his parents. And then on top of that, he's at their period because he went behind Ross's back. because he didn't believe that, going through the proper
Bureaucracy.
bureaucratic channels, or however you say that,
Bureaucracy,
would have led to him able to go there quickly and in time and all that kind of stuff. So for this movie to end and then the next movie to start with Tony still, he's part of the Sokovia Accords. He's still acting as if he has the moral high ground there. It's like that
he's kind of got that rich person feel of like the rules don't the rules don't apply to me until I want them to apply to me, kind of thing. That's kind of the feel I got from it, and that's a juxtaposition to Steve. And even, Black Panther to an extent, he plays by some rules because, when his dad gets killed, even though he could literally just keep on fighting like that chase scene throughout Germany, he could keep fighting him. But whenever he sees like, hey, if I keep trying to, go after these guys, more people are going to get killed. I'm just going to bide my time. I'll just back off a little bit. That's kind of how I feel about that. And then he goes and does his thing. After the fact, after he also figures out, like you said, like I was, like you see in the movie, that he figures out the person he was going after really wasn't the person that was, at fault to begin with. He realigns himself, right?
He figures that out by overhearing the conversation about creeping around like that. To say his introduction was so amazing, that little conversation trying to save his dad with the explosion, and then with the mask and the tunnel chase scene, like his intro was amazing. And then when they were fighting Bucky, when he was turned or whatever, everybody else got beat up by Bucky. The only reason Bucky got away is because he threw him over the rail, and when he went downstairs to find him, he was gone. So like fighting Bucky, he was the best fighter. So all throughout, Black Panther had this amazing lead up, and then he spent the whole movie trying to get vengeance, and then at the very end, he overhears that he had the wrong guy, and then he goes to the guy that actually killed his father, and he's like, you know what? I'm not even worried about it. I forgive you, Let's take you in for judge. I'm still mad, but, we're going to arrest you. I've spent the whole movie trying to kill Bucky, just like, Iron Man was trying to kill him right now, but now that I have you in front of me, I could kill you and nobody would ever know anything. I'm just going to arrest you. Let's take you in peacefully. It's I'm just
going to turn the other cheek, right?
Yeah, that didn't, that didn't really sit because they're not even worried about Zemo at that point. They're fighting each other, and Zemo's just peacefully going away. If he didn't decide to kill himself, he would have just, hopped on a plane or whatever. He would have been, scot-free. The writer's just like, well, we got to find some way to stop him. Let's make Black Panther follow Iron Man. Just kind of threw that in there, and then he arrests him at the end. So Black Panther really had nothing to do at the end other than arrest Zemo peacefully. So it's like I didn't really like the way they did him at the end, and so yeah, just the ending didn't work for me. Put it like that.
No, it didn't. Well, because I agree completely. Like Black Panther kind of changes his motivation at the end, and then, like I said, Tony spent this whole movie supposedly, being for oversight and for the Accords, and at the end, what does he do? He goes and chases after his friend in defiance of the Accords, and then he tries to get his own petty revenge. I mean, like he's doing the exact opposite of what he said he was supposed to be trying to accomplish. Yep. I mean, it doesn't.
He's definitely kind of taking that the childish mentality of if it makes me mad, I'm just going to go after it and screw the rules kind of thing. And that just kind of like that. Like I said, I guess it just really irked me. But yeah, so we're all in agreement. This was not a very good ending.
No, it was not.
This is not a very good. At least we can agree on that. So let me ask you guys this. So obviously we did not like the ending. What is something that you guys enjoyed about the film? Sir, let's start with you. Like, what was one of your either favorite scenes, favorite moments within the film? What did you like the most?
I'm going to say the humor, because I think the obvious answer is the airport scene, but I'll save that for one of you guys. But I really like the humor. There's so many like little in jokes and like little like the moments of levity or whatever. The writing in this was really good. There was a lot of little really funny moments, and I guess I didn't really remember that because I haven't, after watching 23 Marvel movies, they all kind of blur together at the end. But when I went back and watched this, there were a lot of little moments, especially with Peter Parker. He's just a zing left and right, So there are a lot of little moments where the camera cuts to somebody and they make a little joke, and I'm literally laughing out loud at a Marvel movie. So I respect the humor. This is a lot funnier than I remember. Like I said, there's a lot of good writing in here. So yeah, the ending did sour me, but other than that, I just really liked the humor throughout. I think this is a very fun, watchable, enjoyable movie.
Absolutely. James, did you have a particularly
Oh, I don't know. The airport fight scene is obviously probably the best scene in the movie, but it kind of feels like a cop out to say that.
No, I mean,
how about more particularly the part where Captain America and Peter Parker are fighting, and Captain America is, Steve is trying to convince Peter Parker to stop because he sees him like, this is a stupid kid doing stupid kid things, and this is obviously Tony's fault that he's convinced him to do this. And what does Peter do? He does what all the kids do in this situation. He doubles down and says, well, Mr. Stark told me you would say that, and he told me to go for the legs. And I just thought that was classic righteous teenager behavior there, and I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, that scene, it just really showed the difference between like an NBA player and a really good high school basketball player. It's like, I see what you're doing, kid. I see you got skills, but we're on two different levels here.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that. It's kind of like when I tell people, like when you look at people that are like, oh yeah, he plays college ball. He's definitely going to the NBA. I don't think you understand the level that these professional sports guys play, especially like the NBA. Like, there's a whole nother like ball of wax. It's like you might get in the NBA, but you might be in like the bottom like 10% of the NBA. You're still getting that check. But you're still a bench warmer.
Yeah, like that person that you laugh at because they rolled the bench all season or they only made the practice squad. If you saw them play at your local rec center, they would destroy everybody. you know?
Absolutely.
To be able to get that spot on that bench, they have to be so much better than anybody you've ever played with.
And I got no qualms with those people. Good for them because they're making bank just sitting there on that bench, and they're just there in case in case like either LeBron or one of those guys like tweaks an ankle or something like that. And they go out and play for 5 seconds. Yeah, good for them. That's all I got to say. So, but yeah, I think my favorite part in the film, and I have to say, so I'm kind of torn. There's two specific parts in the points in this film that I really enjoy. The first one, which I'll start with it, is the moment where you have that interaction with T'Challa and his dad, the King of Wakanda. I cannot remember his name for the life of me. Good call. They had that moment. It's like I said, it doesn't even come to me. That moment when they're sitting there talking at the UN assembly, right? And he just gives that heartfelt, kind of like conversation with his son. Is just like, I love you. You're going to make a great king someday. And it's coming. Like, he's not going to make it through this movie. And it makes you so mad. But the fact that he has that kind of heart to heart with his son is just a brilliant thing, and he shows like a really deep emotion that I guess a lot of guys, like, I don't know how either our parents, your dads are, but like my dad, he's not really an emotional guy, and the fact that you can kind of see that in a father and show the depth of love that he has for his son, and he knows that he's going to do his best to try to make him he's proud of the man he's become, right? Yeah. And he's excited to see what he's going to be whenever he becomes king, if he lives that long.
And there's that beautiful line in there, just kind of to mirror what we were talking about a second ago with Captain America and Spider-Man, just the different levels and age and wisdom or whatever. T'Challa, the son, he was talking, you can't ever get anything done. It's easier to get something done in a room with 2 people than 100 people. And his dad just slides in there. Yes, unless you need to move a table. That's just that little metaphor that wisdom's like,
it's the
people can't talk it out. But if you need to do something big, so it's just that he has that wisdom of the years of political action and all that kind of stuff built in just to let you know that even though T'Challa is young and he's ready and he's a man, he still doesn't have that wisdom that you get with age and time,
It's one of those things. It's like having a conversation with like one of your grandparents, or just maybe like an older person in your community, or somebody you look up to like at work or whatever it is, and they just like randomly will give you like little nuggets out of nowhere, and I love that kind of stuff, and it's one of those things. It's not all about the humor in the films, but it's great to see those heartfelt moments in there. But and my other part, going back towards like the funny stuff, the moment that Tony Stark goes over and meets Peter Parker for the first time at his house, and he's just like ogling the living crap out of Aunt May. I was like, he's like, that's your aunt? And I'm just like, what is this? And he's just like, just totally trying to hit on her. And I'm like, this is kind of creepy in a weird way, like this is phenomenal. But I love that scene where he goes over and he kind of interacts with Peter the first time, and he like is just critiquing him, and you kind of see that that setup point where Peter is going to end up looking up to Tony, throughout the rest of the series, the first or the big, MCU phase until obviously his untimely demise, at the very end. And he looks forward to that, he kind of like looks up to him throughout that whole thing, and I really really enjoyed that scene because he really just kind of goes in there, and even though he does the Tony thing where he's critiquing everything that Peter Parker's doing, like makes fun of his costume, makes fun of his computer. This is like, what are you working on? Little IBM here, yada yada yada, all that stuff. It's fun, but it's a playful fun because you can see that Peter is excited to kind of meet an icon that he's always looked up to, and it's essentially it's a father figure for him the whole time, But I those are the two scenes that I really enjoyed the most. Is there any other scenes that you guys really enjoyed, or any other things that really kind of just sparked your fancy at all, James, sir?
Okay, so in that first like round conference table scene where they're talking about the Accords for the first time, Tony makes like his big, like obviously pre-planned spiel with the picture of the kid who died and everything else. And then Black Widow pipes in and says that she agrees with him, and she starts to explain herself, and Tony interrupts her. It's like, "Oh, you agreed with me? That's never happened before." And
yeah,
I just thought that was a funny thing.
That was pretty good. I enjoyed that one. So let me ask you guys this. So I know we kind of gone over a little bit of everything. So and our favorite things and our least favorite things. So if you could change one thing about this film, what would it be? Big or small, whatever you want. James, you want to go first on this one?
For me, it'd be the same thing I said earlier. I would just remove the whole villain from the movie and just let it be.
Cut out Zemo from the movie.
Just cut out Zemo from the movie entirely. I don't think
he's not even a villain in Falcon and the Winter Soldier anymore. He's just not there anymore.
I don't think he's even required. Yeah.
Okay, that's just remove him completely from the MCU and the comic verse. Okay.
No, not the whole thing, but I just don't think it added anything to this movie. It really didn't.
It's understandable. So, sir, do you have anything you would?
Just somehow we work that ending. I'm not a writer, but the movie costs $200 million, so they can hire whatever the best writers they can find to figure out a way to work that ending.
Yeah.
So,
what's an extra like $2 million to rewrite it? Right?
Yeah. So it's like you need to have that script perfect. That's which is another way. I don't understand how a lot of these garbage movies get greenlight with crazy scripts. When if it's going to cost me $200 million to make this movie, I'm going to make sure I spend the right amount of money on the writers to make sure the movie is good. But yeah, so I would have retweaked that ending and figured out a way to make the villain more impactful.
No, absolutely. So, but all right, guys, I think we've kind of we've beat this horse to death at this point. Is there anything else you guys would like to recommend or talk about on the Civil War at all before we kind of wrap it up? Before we do our final question on it? No,
I mean, we never did talk about the airport scene. So.
Let's talk about the airport scene. Let's talk about the airport. That's a good call. So
everybody said, well, obviously the airport scene, but let's talk about this scene in particular.
That's a good call, actually. Yeah, see, that's the problem when you have my brain like I do. So obviously, this is the biggest scene. This was the biggest thing in all of Marvel, cinematic universe for a long time, because it brought all those characters basically the first time you see everybody on screen at once, right? That big moment where you have both sides coming in, clashing at the same time, where you have you see everybody. You have, Ant-Man, Black Widow, the Vision, Scarlet Witch, everybody's there, even Black Panther, everybody's there, right? So I truly enjoyed that scene because it's just so. How long is that scene anyways? Because it's so fast paced. It feels like a blink of an eye, right?
It's like 10 or 12 minutes or something.
About 10 minutes, something like that.
That's a pretty good hunk of time for like an action scene. And the fact that they gave it the care and consideration that it did, I truly, like I said, that is probably, even though those two other scenes that I was talking about, this is definitely like a close third.
Yeah.
Like I said, it may be even fourth, depending on, a couple other scenes that I really like. But I truly enjoyed this scene just because you get to see, the fanboy in me was like, it got giddy because I was like, ooh, they're all going to fight. They're all there. Ooh, you get excited, kind of like a dork and whatnot. But
it's a fanboy moment. It's like, oh, who would win if Captain America and Tony Stark fought? I mean, people talk about stuff like this. I mean, it's a cool
I know what
thing.
you're talking about. It's like I didn't used to go to my local comic shop and sit there and talk to the guy that ran the store, Andrew. He was a big a Dracula fan. He loved that kind of stuff, and we'd talk about the stuff. Who would fight? Win Dracula or the werewolf or Frankenstein, all that jazz. And they try to do that in Van Helsing with who Wolverine. They have who plays Wolverine, James? I'm having Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman, yeah. They tried to do that in the Helsing movie, and was not very good, but it was still fun. So, but talking about sit there for hours and just have a conversation. And my mom would call me like, "Are you coming home for dinner?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be home. I'm still talking. Sorry." That kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be in the fridge, where I'm not waiting for you, But yeah, but that's what I really like this. So what did you like about the airport scene there, Sir?
Well, just again, awesome seeing everybody fighting, and the fact that we all know each other, we're all teammates, but we're diametrically opposed on this issue. So we're fighting, but I'm not trying to kill you,
Yeah.
Until the very end with Tony being Tony, like you knew that they were fighting each other, but it's like the goal isn't to harm you and hurt you. It's just to, I'm trying to defeat you in this little combat, especially seeing Scarlett Johansson and Hawkeye, it's like, hey, we're still cool, right? It's like, well, depends on how hard you hit me. It's like, because, they're friends that go back, and they know that, hey, we're on the opposite sides of this issue, but we'll still be friends no matter how this turns out in the end. So I really like that. And I think my favorite part was Spider-Man. He's just so the wittiness and the little quips he keeps making left and right. He was a real bright spot in that. So I just like the whole thing, the way everybody interacts, and the fact that, at the end of the day, these are supposed to be our heroes. So, nobody's going to kill anybody. Nobody's, it's not going to be terrible, but you get to see your favorite characters fight one another. I thought it was just a really awesome scene. And like I said, the rest of Marvel, it's like, this was kind of the top tier of what could be done in comic book movies for a long time.
It did fall fairly quickly after some of those other films came out, but it was still very good. I'll agree with you on that one. So, James, what did you feel about it?
I mean, a lot of the same things people have said. I mean, some other moments I liked. I liked how they had the Scarlet Witch kept criticizing people for holding back, because she's kind of the only one who's like not really, part of the team. She's more in it to win it than the rest of them are, and so she keeps criticizing her teammates for holding back. And I also liked the bit where they took Ant-Man and they fired him into Tony's suit so he could tear up the electronics from the inside. I thought that was hilarious.
dude, who plays Scott Lang or Ant-Man? I'm trying to remember his name. It's
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd, good call. Wow, had a brain fart there. I love Paul Rudd as Ant-Man. I know the Ant-Man and the Ant-Man and the Wasp weren't like my favorite movies, but he made those movies just phenomenal.
He's perfect in that role. Yeah. But speaking about Scarlet Witch, I'm so very much interested to see how this movie can, because right now she was just barely, like, she has powers, she can do stuff, but compared to where she is post WandaVision, like just seeing her in a fight in whatever movie comes in the future, I'm just very much interested in seeing the difference between how her powers are used and how much power she has. Because if you've seen WandaVision, she's unlocked now. She's fully Scarlet Witch now. So just trying to see the difference between, because really in the fight, all she was doing was moving things here and there and stopping things from falling. But now she's a full on witch. So I'm just very much interested to see kind of how
she's all about that hex magic. She's full tilt. So
and they've started introducing some very powerful characters from the comic books. Like you said, Scarlet Witch is unlocked now. Captain Marvel's a pretty strong one. Doctor Strange, once he gets fully trained up, he's also supposed to be one of those top level characters.
Well, that's what we're gonna see, like in his movies coming out, Multiverse of Madness, where he kind of interacts with Scarlet Witch, and they kind of go through that down there, and then later on he goes with Peter Parker and it kind of turns back time. It's kind of like so it's pretty cool.
They're just kind of too powerful now, so it's just the writing is going to be fun to see how they limit everybody's powers. Because I feel like Vision should have been able to kick everybody's butt.
Oh, yeah.
He's got Superman powers. It's like, you should have been able to stop that in 2 seconds, but they have to make him distracted and they have to make him come in late. And it's like, you got to do certain things to cap his power. So when everybody's got God level power, it's just going to be interesting to see how they, how the writing goes to where it's not just, nonsense or just a really weak fight.
It's just literally just, it's kind of like the old Superman Doomsday fight. It's literally just like who can punch harder. That's what it really comes down to if they're just that strong, and it kind of gets annoying after a little bit. You kind of see it just becomes a Zack Snyder just cityscape gore fest, basically. Just how much destruction can you have? That's kind of you don't want to see that. You're more worried about watching. You're more worried about trying to figure out how these characters interact. I like that kind of stuff a lot more because, like you said, it's more of, if they just keep bringing out, the big hitters and stuff like that, it's literally just going to be them swinging as hard as they can, trying to hit each other. So, that's why I'm interested to see how they're going to do with this next kind of phase, and they're hopefully kind of try to figure out, well, how do these people, either deal with their increasing power, or maybe as a consequence for trying to do these certain things, maybe it limits their power. Maybe it sucks away a little bit of their power and kind of like knocks them down a peg. Maybe, you know what I'm saying?
You got to start bringing in the Eternals. You got to bring God level villains for God level super.
Yeah, and you're bringing the Celestials in that are like technically created all these, everybody on Earth and then the universe. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. And like I said, I'm excited to see, and I definitely want to try to see if I can go to the theater to try to see some of these, because I know I've been kind of jonesing for the theater. But yeah, is there anything else? I know we keep saying that. Is there anything else that we have missed today in our hefty, meaty review of Civil War, guys? Anything else? No, James. So, final question, guys: how many Captain America shields or Tony Stark lasers would you give this out of 10? How about that? Sir, you want to give it a rating?
Giving it 8 out of 10.
Okay, 8 out of 10. Yeah, James?
I think I have to agree. Yeah,
you're going to give it an 8? I'm
going to give it an 8. It's a good movie. It has some flaws, but it has some pretty epic stuff in it. It's not to be missed.
Well, maybe I'm the only person. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Actually, I a little low. It's it's negligible, but yeah, it's one of those things, guys. So it is what it is. So all right, I just want to say thanks, guys, for coming by today and listening to us kind of shoot the breeze for roughly almost an hour and 45 minutes. It's definitely something. So that was quite a bit. So again, thank you, Sirr, for coming by and kind of shooting the breeze with us. I know, like I said, I know you're a little tired. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to come talk to us.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Like I said, I'm glad to do it anytime. You guys can follow me on Twitter at MyMovieFixPod and MyMovieFixPodcast, wherever podcasts are found. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, seriously, go check him out, guys. He's a blast to listen to on his podcast. So again, James, thanks for coming by, Sirr, and like I said, everybody, we're gonna be heading out. And like I said, have a wonderful day. Don't get into war with each other, and catch us next week. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.
If you're interested in keeping up to date with new episodes on our channel, add us on any of your favorite podcasting apps, or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Seriously Pointless Conversations. If you have questions or concerns, please email us at seriouslypointlessconvo@gmail.com. We appreciate any feedback. Thank you for listening to our show.